Hey guys, Dr. Haider Ali here. We're going to talk very quickly about a few things you can do to really make your life better, right? So you're living with a lung condition. It may be a small thing, it may be a big thing, but these apply to everyone, whether you have very mild disease, something which doesn't really bother you now and then, to people who have really daily persistent symptoms. I want to give you a few tips to continue to feel good and be the best version of you every day. So let's jump into it together. So welcome. We know that living with any lung disease is challenging. It's difficult. People just don't know how you feel, right? You've got symptoms which you may hide, symptoms where you try and suppress. There may be days where you have to cancel social events because you just don't feel up to it. And if you don't have a lung condition, you don't get that. You just don't understand. And I see a lot of patients who have adapted their lifestyle just to cope with having a lung condition, and it shouldn't be that way. So I'm going to give you a few tips will hopefully prevent you from having to cancel social events, stop doing the things you love, and hopefully you can just keep living a full and active life. What's important is that even the smallest things can really make a difference. If you have something small that you can make into a habit and keep consistent at it, it really can improve your breathing, your energy, and your quality of life. And so we're going to go through some practical tips really about how to breathe easier, how to stay active, how to eat well, and how these can protect your lungs. All right, number one, we're going to talk about staying as active as you can, obviously within your limits. We know that not everyone is going to have the same exercise capacity, but just moving every day is so important. It can really maintain your muscle mass, it can improve your mood, it can actually help your breathing, and it can help train your diaphragm to take sort of slower, deeper breaths. But over time, if you do this on a daily basis, it will improve your stamina, and that means you'll be able to do more of the things you love. So it's really important to stay as active as you can. And staying active for you could mean just stretching every morning. It could be just going for a walk once or twice a day. If you have a dog, take the dog for a walk. If you have more complex disease, it may be worth speaking to your pulmonologist about pulmonary rehabilitation, because that's a very structured and supervised environment where you can really help to increase your activity level. Even just a few minutes a day is all it takes. So it doesn't have to be a very long sort of session of exercise, a few minutes in the morning, but the important thing is you have to build it into your routine. It's not something you can just rely on to do off the cuff. We really feel just like the way you schedule your meals, we want you to sort of schedule your exercise as well. And finally, the other thing that's important is when you are breathing is you can practice pursed-lipped breathing, where you're breathing out through a narrowed mouth, and that can help increase your lung volume and help slow down your breathing, control your exhalation, and it can really help sort of just refocus your mind and not get panicky if you are getting breathless. Okay, the next thing, number two, is you want to eat well. Eat well for good lung health, okay? So what this means is having a healthy, balanced diet. You really want to try and limit your intake of processed foods like really sugary snacks, processed meats, and very salty things, which can also lead to fluid retention. Some of you out there may have issues or may be prone to getting fluid retention, and so if you have a lot of salt, you will end up retaining fluid, and that can definitely impact your breathing, for the worse. So think about that, but at the same time, you want to stay well hydrated as well. So always speak to your doctor about what is a good fluid intake for you and what is a good salt intake for you as well. A lot of foods that have very strong anti-inflammatory properties, and we cover this in another video where we're talking about things like vitamin C, vitamin D, antioxidant fruits and leafy vegetables, omega-3 fatty acids. There's lots of different food groups that can really help maintain and support a really healthy gut microbiome or your gut bacteria. And that's really important for keeping healthy lungs. We know there's a very, very strong connection between the bacteria in your gut and the bacteria in your lungs. So that's something to really think about. You can influence that with your diet. A lot of people also tell me that, they just don't have the appetite to eat a full meal. And they may be quite thin, they may lose weight. We know that if your weight goes down in any kind of lung disease below a certain point, it can really negatively impact your health. So What I recommend my patients to do is, if you're not someone who can sit down and eat a big plate at lunchtime or at dinner time, just split those meals up into smaller snacks. And I'd rather you ate like a heavy snack every 2 hours or so, than try and get down a big plate of food every 4 to 6 hours, which will be much more difficult. So having smaller portions but more frequently may just help getting a good caloric intake without causing breathlessness or feeling overly bloated. So that's really important as well. Hydration is really important because it also helps thin your mucus as well. So if you're someone who gets prone to getting a lot of thick mucus, by staying hydrated, you can really help that phlegm get thinner, making it easier to cough out. Okay, this is one that's very, very close to my heart, is practice airway clearance. Okay, I know a lot of you watching this probably have a lot of problems getting mucus out, particularly if you're having an exacerbation or if you're sick. And so having techniques that you can do, whether that's active cycle of breathing technique, huff coughing, using a nebulizer or a flutter valve, or even using like a high frequency chest wall, like a percussion vest. There's whatever you do, whatever your pulmonologist or your physician has told you to do to help remove mucus from the lungs, practice it. Do it at least 3 to 4 times a week, maybe even daily if you really feel you need it. But that's something that when you need it, you really need to be aware of, like the technique, what you're supposed to do, and how you're supposed to do it. Now, there isn't one exact way, perfect way to do airway clearance, and 2 different physicians may tell you 2 slightly different techniques. It doesn't mean one is right and one is wrong. The important thing is that you're still going to get the same tools and learn the same processes to help remove that mucus from the lungs. So yeah, think about that and practice it. It's very, very important. Okay, number 4, avoid triggers and pollutants that are going to worsen your symptoms. So for example, if you're an asthmatic and you know that when you go out in the springtime when the pollen counts are very high, it's going to cause chest tightness, it's going to be causing things to get worse. So just think about what you're doing outdoors on which day. We know in the summer there can be a lot of irritants in the air, like very high ozone levels, pollen, grass pollens, tree pollens. So think about this when you're going out. Some people find that they're triggered by strong smells or scents or dust or animal dander. So just think about where you're going and what you're going to need. Do you need to take an antihistamine or an allergy pill? Do you need to take a mask with you? Should you really be going out, spending the whole day outdoors when the pollen counts are in the thousands? So just think about what you're going to be exposed to, and you may want to sort of just taper your activity level or your plans based on that. Obviously, we always recommend, against smoking, keep the house and the car smoke-free. If there is a family member who smokes or vapes, they really should be taking it outside or ideally stopping altogether. But that's something you should continue that dialogue with your physician to figure out, how can I avoid being exposed to things that we know are going to trigger your lung disease. Okay, number 5, medications, right? We prescribe them every day. Really make sure you understand how you're supposed to take your medications. If they're pills, should you be taking them in the morning, nighttime? Should you split the dose up? I think just clarify all these things. Should you take it with food, without food? Should you take it on an empty stomach? Do you have to wait an hour before eating? There's a lot of things that you have to ask. So make sure you ask your pharmacist how you should be taking this medication. If you're someone that may forget to take an evening dose, maybe get a pill box and keep it somewhere visible. Something that's very big in my world is inhalers, and I'm sure they're pretty big in your world as well. So understanding how you should take your inhaler, because there are many different types. Is it breath activated? Is it an aerosol? And what's the protocol for taking it? So always ask your pulmonologist or your pharmacist, and they can show you that as well. If you have a nebulizer machine, understand how to clean the nebulizer machine out. Again, how frequently should you be taking it? Is it something, both with inhalers and nebulizers, is it something I should be taking every day? Or is it something I can take as needed? And that's something you should definitely clarify with your physician. But medicines are certainly not the magic bullet, but they're one part of many different facets of looking after yourself, but they are a very important part. Okay, number 6, kind of two things bunched together, but we're going to talk about both of them. First one is vaccinations. Vaccinations are one of the few things that can actually prolong your life in lung disease, particularly COPD. And there's not too many things that can do that, believe it or not. So we really make sure that you want to get up to date on your vaccinations, like your pneumococcal vaccination or your pneumonia shot, RSV if you're age appropriate, and a flu shot every year as well. And in certain groups, we still recommend getting a COVID shot. But vaccinations are really, really important. Speak to your physician about which ones are suitable for you. And the other part is kind of tagged along to that is really making sure you're going for your checkups. You know, you should be seeing your physician at a regular interval so he or she knows kind of how you're doing, what changes have there been in your other parts of your health. Also ask about pulmonary rehabilitation. It's really important for people with lung disease, and you may be eligible, and it's a great program that can help your symptoms, so we definitely recommend that as well. So the next topic is one that often goes unrecognized, very sadly. Number 7 is prioritizing your mental health. Why is that important? Well, you know, we know that any chronic disease, doesn't matter if it's lungs, heart, kidneys, liver, whatever it is, we know there's a much higher incidence or higher level of anxiety and depression in these diseases. So we want to make sure that those are being treated as well. But it's not all about treating it with medicines. There's other things you can do, like like learning breathing techniques, meditation, mindfulness, knowing when to recognize when you are, maybe your breathing is getting sort of out of control, and how to center that again and bring it back down. Consider support groups, like in different diseases, can be very helpful to meet other people who have similar disease to you, similar conditions, and you can also sort of talk about different coping strategies. And we also recommend seeing a psychologist. If you really do feel like you are struggling with the disease and you want someone to talk to about it, a counselor or a psychologist would be perfect. All right, so we'll kind of wrap it up there, but I hope that I've given you a few parts of management which you can tie together and really use to make an action plan, because we want you to be the best version of you, and it takes sort of addressing different parts of your life to get there. Okay, so what I recommend is think about what I've said in this video, try and make small consistent steps. The key to it is not trying to go from 0 to 100 in like a day. You really want to try and build this up over time, but whatever you do, you want to try and stay consistent, because it's that consistency that's going to make the difference over time. So whether that's saying I'm going to do 5 to 10 minutes of meditation every morning, or I'm going to start walking more, I'm going to do a 20-minute walk before lunchtime every day, or I'm going to stop eating like takeout every night, I'm going to start trying to eat a bit healthier. Whatever you do, you really want to try and stay consistent at it, because that's the key to really making improvements. Because we know that living with lung disease is not easy. It's tough. You often feel like you're alone. Getting breathless can be scary, especially when it's doing something you used to do and had no problem with. So partner with a good physician, make sure you have someone in your corner who knows what's going on with you, and don't make any sudden sort of big changes without speaking to them and consulting and finding out what's right for you. Anyway, I hope this video is really helpful for you, and we'll get you some more great stuff coming your way soon. All right, take care. Bye for now.